to do show and tell. I know we're already at 8:30, so time has gotten away from us a little bit, but we had an important discussion to have. Here's my show and tell. I did a composite on Sunday. This is the composite carbon fiber plate that I made, which is really cool. It's not perfect. Like there's totally some defects, some holes, some pockets. But if I was cleaning this out with isopropyl alcohol a little bit earlier, and it really looked a lot nicer. I feel like a skin coat across the top of this, and it would look really sharp. But this is just one composite plate. It's real. I mean, I can smash. That was probably terrible for the microphone. But you know, you can smack it against the table, and it does not care at all. It's very rigid. It's a, you know, this is, if this were food safe, this could be fantastic camping cookware. So, you know, that would be a lot of fun. Lior was saying I should sell these on Etsy for $100 a pop, which sounds like a great way to make a little cash. But yeah, that is that. Oh, and the other interesting thing that's worth sharing for the sake of the group is there are people who have been paying attention to the fact that we're here and doing this. And so I've got an interested party who's going to talk to me about our foundations class from Barcelona, the Fab Lab that I've been selling, how cool they are. And then also somebody from Boston who's interested in what we've been up to. We are trendsetters in the world, people. It's happening. It's very exciting. Just want to let you know. So that's my show and tell, which maybe I should have gone later, but that's what happened. Anybody else want to go next? Let's see. Aaron, your face is large on the screen. You want to go?
I don't have it in front of me. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I'll go grab it.
Would you mind? That would be great. I'm really curious how it came out. So I found some fabric that Kate was kind enough to bring that has Chewbacca in it. And I don't know if you can make that out. It's kind of dark and scary.
I'm gonna talk for a second so that it comes up on screen as the main screen, and then we'll pass it around the room. Probably this will get edited in as a photo later.
No worries.
Sorry, Kate.
Yeah, but tell us about it, Aaron.
Yeah, so I came to the class to participate. I am really interested in doing more with epoxy, and I think it took a while for me to sort of wrap my head around the idea of turning a fabric into a solid. It's almost as if it like plucked a boyish desire to like be a superhero as a kid or something, you know, that you could like make your own suit of armor or something like that. Anyway, yeah, so Corey showed off some cool stuff. Essentially like the drip tray made out of old dress shirts, which just sort of blew my mind. And then we went about coating the fabric in epoxy and essentially adhering it to an object to assume that shape. So conceptually, I think it was really easy to understand, and then very easy to do, and very inviting and fun. Like I think that was a really, really good project for this that felt super inviting, and I'm excited to see how my bowl turned out. So, and whether or not the mold release actually worked. I've always like worried that I didn't put enough on, or even that I had enough epoxy. I don't know that I did. So
epoxy, you're good. I can tell from here. The mold release is a question for everybody all the time. So
yeah. Do you want to open it? Like, you can feel free to open it if you want.
Oh, no, I don't want to open your present. That's
okay.
That's all you.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave it for you.
Would someone mind just like putting it on my shelf, or
yeah, we'll put it on the
class shelf?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, somebody in the room want to walk up, show off your piece of kit that you made for the camera, and then tell us about anything else that you did this week. Come on up. Ruby, you got some sitting right there. Yeah.
Can't see.
I'll point the camera.
Okay. Can't see y'all, but I made two because I had two different fabrics. So, and they came out pretty nice. I agree. The concept, like when we were talking about composites, it wasn't totally like clicking. But once we started actually doing it, it was like, oh, this is just like paper mache, kind of, almost, in a sense. Anyways, I used 2 layers for this small ice cream bowl, and it's like pretty solid. I'm sanding the edges, and it's not that hard. And this, I think I used 3 or 4 different layers, and it's a lot more like rigid. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
sandpaper question.
Yeah, I'm using 80 grit, and it's working. My edges are pretty rough, so I need something hard. And yeah, it's working fine.
Cool. All right. Very nice. Let's see, Ilya, would you want to come up and show off your ball? Tell us a little bit about it. I feel like you nailed it the best of everybody on the amount of epoxy.
Where's the camera? Oh,
Camera's right here.
Okay.
I've gotcha. So that's you can just tell us a little bit about it.
so this is, it's technically 3 layers, but not really, because I took the paper mache route and I did strips for my first layer, and then triangles for my second layer, and then 1 flat piece that had darts cut into it for the final piece. And it kind of worked out, but you could definitely feel that like the bottom is the strongest and the sides are like really flexible. So it looks like the 3 layers only really exist on the bottom. But yeah, like I've done a lot of paper mache before, and I know like a little bit of glue goes a long way. I think if I were gonna do anything different, I would probably like do more layers, I think, just because it doesn't feel structurally sound. It feels like if I tried really hard, I could crumple it. Might have something to do with the thickness of my fabric, which is really thin. I use like a cotton, like a thin printed cotton. So that's also something. And then I guess the other thing was I was gonna make my carta out of shredded paper, and I didn't quite get there. But I think the intention, I'm still looking for a mold to basically make a sheet of it, so then I can either laser cut it or put it on the Shipoko and make something out of it. But it's basically just like a sheet of shredded paper and epoxy that then gets turned into something else. I was thinking about putting it on the wood turner, but now I'm thinking about maybe just either laser cutting it or cutting a shape out of it first, just to see what happens. But I cut the paper, and there's a video of it in Slack. Then the other thing I did this weekend was I finally put my brake rotors on my car.
Yeah.
Which is like, there's a couple of pictures. There's a before and an after. And it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but it was also incredibly detailed in terms of all of the moving parts. So like the parts of the caliper and the different things that you need to be very careful about and align properly. Putting the clips that hold the brake pad in place. It's what literally holds that thing when you put all your pressure and the pads hit the rotor. So like you have to click it in just right so that it has all of that force, hold it in. So that was interesting, that it's just these like metal clips, almost like frame clips, just much more complicated. And that led to us finding that we had to put the clamp, like, so there's a piston as part of the brake hydraulic system that basically pushes on the brake pads, and that's what gets them to stop the rotor. So when you take the pads off to replace them, you have to be very careful, because that piston, you have to kind of like push that piston back to make room. And when you do that, the fluid gets pushed back up, and you have to watch your master cylinder where your brake fluid is. Otherwise, it could all just go shooting everywhere. And not only is that stuff highly corrosive, it's extremely flammable. So if you get it inside of your engine bay, you have to take a lot of time to just clean it all out. So while we were checking the master cylinder that has like a little thing you can pop off and actually look inside, while we were checking that, we found out that the brake fluid is extremely dark. So we were like, this is probably also part of the braking problem. So that led to about 3.5 hours of bleeding the brakes, which is basically you just pump the brakes a bunch and you get all the fluid to come out that's dirty, and you keep replacing it with clean fluid until it runs clear. But that's how I learned about like the hydraulic system and how brakes work and why this fluid is better than any other fluid, and the nature of fluid not being able to compress it. Like you can only push it.
Yep.
All of those sciencey things I learned.
Yeah,
So that was my week.
How fun. That's a big experience, for sure. What a neat one. Let's see, we've got Ogata and Jamie who can tell us about their time. And then, let's see. I think we still have your bowl here. I see it in its thing. Next time you're in, you'll be able to open it up. I want to see how it goes. Come on up, Ogata.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, got to making a bowl last night with a few other people, and this is how it turned out. So this was just some loose fabric in the sewing area. So for everyone to see, it's pretty smooth on this side. There's a plate right on this side over here at the place there. Yeah, one of these bowls. So it was sitting right on this, and it was kind of stuck. So I used Kate's little air blast method to get it out. And this was single strips cut up and just kind of layered in like a pie type of a pie lattice type of structure over here. Dipped it into the epoxy. That was Ileana's method, and then strain it and lay it right on top. So it made it through this foam material and also this perforated plastic. It's like just as hard as the bowl is over here. But it came out pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with it. And gonna go for something bigger next time, I think.
There we go. That's exciting. I feel like we're all gonna have keys and weird new dishes over the next little while. Jamie, you gonna show off what you did?
Yes, well, there's nothing much to show off yet because I haven't released it.
But it's good to show, like, for the sake of the video.
Yeah.
It's good to at least see, like, what that is.
And this little experiment I did with the veneer, actually, I was able to just release. Now it popped right out.
Oh, that looks
So
really cool.
I took different veneer and just layered it because I have some ideas of using that method on tabletops in the van and other
Cool.
pieces of furniture. And
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Much nicer than like, it's got like an OBS sort of quality to look at it, but it's way nicer.
yeah,
Like
and
it's random shapes, but in a fun, very nice wood sort of way.
yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but that stuff, well, I guess it does still easily fall apart as I've just demonstrated, but it is a little more rigid.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need for jewelry. That's a good point. Kate, would you like to come up and show us anything, or do you have a series of photos you want to share? Okay, great.
All right. Okay, I think I've got this all right. So give the share a try. Okay. So here's my week in composites. This is my experience before this week. Some sad looking pinatas and zombie cat pinata. And then this is, many of you saw this since we got to work together, which was exciting. This is the burlap bowl that I was doing, 2 layers of burlap inside and outside. This is sort of the process. So we've got mold release. I have a lot of feelings about mold release right now. I think it's a lie. I'm going to try this wax thing. Mixing the resin, very exciting. Trying to convince the burlap to stay with many methods. This is where you can see the epoxy dots, which is what we want, some good pressure. And then here, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, there's a little bit of ASMR, I don't know, the opening, the unwrapping, which is kind of fun. And then I'll just turn it down because it's going to continue on for a while there. I would really love to hear from some of my other bowl friends to see if anyone had better luck. So we tried a new camera angle as well to see if that would be more effective. The dog was trying to help, you know, it took a bit, but I eventually got all of the various layers. And I got down to just the bowl. So the bowl is still in here. It's a glass bowl, which is why you can still see it. But that was a big step. So there was these great ideas. This was not, by the way, I think called it the Kate method. Definitely not the Kate method. It was the Bobby and Corey suggested method of the air gun, which I saw after, a little too late. I did try some other things like what Ruby suggested, but basically jamming various things into there to see what I could do to try to get it to release. And then I got the bowl to release like this. And that worked really well. And it was really satisfying. And so there's our bowl. I had originally planned to kind of cut off the sort of wings or whatever, but I kind of like them. So for now, they're staying. But I just couldn't get enough, so I came back for another round on Sunday with some other folks. And I took far fewer pictures. Here's the second bowl. Not so much dots, but pools, like giant amounts of resin, which I did tonight cut on the scroll saw to help get it out. It is still trapped here. We're still working on that. And then this is, I also tried a wine glass, which I tried making my own bag. It was a skill I was not quite ready for, as I learned. You can see here, we only have one pump, but this is, if you watch the beginning quickly, you'll see it sucks in real quick. So that's nice. That's what it would look like when the vacuum is going, but when you take the vacuum off, it doesn't stay. So a million rubber bands later, we tried the octopus method to keep that while it was curing. And in the end, this is the glass, the wine glass shape. The glass is still trapped in here. I haven't smashed it yet. I'm trying to decide. I thought it was funny that it ended up looking like stained glass, even though I didn't mean to. Of course, I'm just predictable like that. But learned some stuff. It was interesting. And I did put up my stained glass piece. So that's the other thing that I finished this week. Okay.
Was that just with the bowl or the plate too? The plate came out for me just quickly. So
I only did difficult things.
okay.
I think I'm going to do a plate in the future.
Yeah, the bowl, it looks like it's still completely trapped. It's amazing how, like, there's so many things, just like molding and casting. The more you do, the more you learn, and so the more you get at these different systems, the better you're going to get, and the crazier results you're going to have. And so I imagine that there's some future where people get very good at this, and to think about the level of skill that Bobby has to be doing this professionally is really mind-blowing. And so it's fascinating to learn all these new skills and processes, and we've really made it through quite a whirlwind at this point. We're at a bit of a critical juncture, and I want to make sure that I say it just one more time. This is a moment to start thinking about sort of the summation of what we've done, all the weird skills that we've put together. How can you leverage those at different times? If you feel like, over the course of building the CNC drawing machine or the garden system, is there a moment where you lean on your laser cutting skills, or you lean on 3D printing and those different things that we've all put together? How you integrate those skills is really an interesting invitation with a good project. And like how you can also deepen a skill without trying to integrate or cross. Those are all interesting pieces to look at. but we're definitely at an, oh, and you've got, oh yeah, you got one free. Okay, so come on up and show us it. I think.
Yeah, it was quick. So this is my plate, and I used wood veneer along with cloth, and it actually came out pretty well. And on the back, same thing. I threw in a little bit of Ruby's pink, but I was able to bend the veneer, and I'd like to see how it came out on the bowl. But so far, so good.
Yeah, that's really sharp. I love the wooden triangles in that design. That's so cool. Ooh, and that's a good question about, can you use a lemon peel to do it, or would it get gross? I think the short answer is that if you put in a lemon peel as normal, and you we had this debate actually while we were doing the class. Can you put a hot dog in epoxy, and how gross will it get? Because somebody did it apparently on Reddit, and then they've been posting updates about how it's decaying inside the epoxy, which is fascinating. And so maybe if you do it with a Twinkie, it'd be fine, but not a hot dog and a bun. I think that if you dried them out, it could be good. You want to sort of sterilize them so there's no bacteria that are going to grow. But there's definitely, if you troll through the Barcelona labs data on like their Fabricatomy or Bioacademy, they have strategies for how you can turn fruits and those sorts of things. Oh yeah, Kate's got it. There it is. That's the hot dog encased in epoxy. It's having a birthday, I think, after 6 months. So yeah, it totally has that kind of a vibe in a terrifying sort of way. It's like everything the internet has promised. A little bit of terrible, a little bit of scary, and a fair amount of whimsy. It's fascinating. So the short answer is I don't know. It'd be great if it worked, if you could risk it decaying inside of the epoxy, but it might also be fine. Maybe wait another 6 months and see how the hot dog's doing. I think that's the lesson. But yeah, that is it. I think that the majority of what we're going to be doing this week is chatting back and forth about what exactly we want to do, sort of identifying what's up. And I think if we're looking at what to do in those groups on Slack, it might make a lot of sense to see if anybody can find some solid resources that point us in the right direction early on. That might help define the way that we're going. So if you know of any things, if they're already rolling around in your head, if you've got any resources, or if you can quickly find something that's magical, that'd be good to throw into the chat. And then you can also do group video calls through Slack, which is sort of a crazy thing, but you can do that without needing any sort of a get together. So if you wanted to virtually talk to people, you totally can that way. It completely works. I've done it with a couple people. And so that is a great way to collaborate, in addition to just scheduling a time and saying, letting people know, oh, I plan on being in the space from 4 to 6 p.m., that sort of stuff. So there's a ton of interesting things. This is going to be a weird and wild 4 weeks. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I want you to be thinking about, how do you work on the group project? What could a good individual project be down the line? And then also, what roles do you want to try and take on because they're your strengths, or maybe because they're places where you'd like to get a little bit more experience while there's somebody around for some backup and support. So lots of different interesting dynamics to consider, and that makes group work always all the harder. So we're gonna try and navigate that together as a whole cohort, and I'm excited to see what comes out.